Back to the Masechta, since we got to make it quick. Snappy shiur tonight. Actually, very interesting beginning of the Masechta. Really very different than the Bavli. As you know, I learn Sukkah every year, so I have some knowledge of Sukkah, and that's pretty interesting. Sukkah shikvalim alam esti ma'aba. A Sukkah which is higher than 20 amos, psula, it's no good. Rabbi Yehuda actually said it's kosher. V'shein akvasar tvachim, it's not 10 tvachim high. V'shein l'shol shvos, doesn't have 3 walls. Shechamos meruba mitzilasa, its sun on its roof is greater than a shade. Psula, it's no good. Rabbi Yossi Amar Lastam, Rabbi Yossi made the following statement without attribution. Rabbi Yacham made the following statement, Shem Rav. Rabbanan Yofi Lami Pischa, and this is the statement. Rabbanan Yofi Lami Pischa Sheichel. Rabbanan learned this out from the opening of the Heichel, which is 20 amos tall. 12. Rabbi Yoli Flam Pischa Shalulam. Rabbi on the other hand learned from the opening of the Ulam, which is 40 amos tall. Says, I don't understand. I mean, Pischa Shalulam. If in fact you learn out for the opening of the Ulam, then Dayo Arborim Abba. The attack should not be valid that it should be for it to be any taller than 40 amos. That's not how we learned over there. Piso shel ulam gavoar borim abba v'rochvos fir abba. In fact, the opening to ulam was 40 by 20. So therefore, how can you say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it doesn't matter the height, there should be a definite cap, which is 40 amos, right? Yet Tani Rabbi Chia said that according to Rabbi Yehuda, afilu arboim chamishim amma. Even 40 or 50 amos is good. At Taibar Kapora, feeling mea amos, even 100 amos is good. So how could that be if you learn from the opening of the Ulam? Rabbi Avin said, you're right. It's a different svara altogether. Rabbi Yehuda Kedaiti, Rabbana Kedaton. Rabbi Yehuda follows the line of reasoning, and Rabbana follows their line of reasoning, which is Taka not learned from the Heichel. It's served from elsewhere, and this is something the Bavli does not bring down, though we had it once before in the Yerushalmi, way back at the beginning of the Yerushalmi, which of the Eruvin, where the Yerushalmi said, if you have a bridge which is open on both sides, meaning that underneath the bridge it's open on both sides, obviously it only has 2 walls, the side walls, underneath them on Shabbos, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Chachamim Osrim. Chachamim forbid this. Now this is an interesting thing because Rabbi Yehuda really holds the reason why a sukkah can be so high is because it's like Pitikro Yard V'Soisim. Pitikro Yard V'Soisim is no matter how high the tikro is, it still comes down. So too Rabbi Yehuda holds here by sukkah Pitikro Yard V'Soisim. It's the bottom line is that you have a house or you have an enclosure. What else more do you need, right? Chachamim say you don't say pitikra under these circumstances, right? Pitikra, according to Chachamim, you have to have a structure which is closed on 2 sides, the 2 adjacent sides, if I recall correctly, not the 2 opposite sides, right? By a bridge, the 2 opposite sides are closed. That's be the 2 adjacent sides, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Chachamim. Okay, so they argue. But in any event, Rabbanan obviously don't learn that Pitikra is sufficient for the purpose of Sukkah. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda does. Says, so you hear too also, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you see the roof as if it comes down and closes. He died to Rabbi Yehuda Sukkah, he died to Movi. That's Rabbi Yehuda holds by Sukkah, and that's Rabbi Yehuda holds by Movi. It's consistent. He died to the Rabbana Sukkah, he died to Rabbana Movi, and Rabbana also consistent. Because they hold by a Sukkah, it's no good if it's tall, even though it has a roof. And by Movi also they hold it's no good, even if it's tall up, it's not considered to be sufficient to carry underneath the Pitikra. Okay? Says the Gemara, below Dami, it's not true. You like try to make comparison, they're not comparable. There's certain things that are kosher by Sukkah and possible by Movi. And there's certain things that are kosher by Movi and possible by Sukkah. They're not 100% comparable. For example, the Kronim Ksherim B'Sukkah. If you have, let's say you have you put up the Sukkah on stilts, the schach on stilts in the Sukkah, right? In other words, the walls are yay high, but the schach is up much higher on stilts. So that's okay. As long as the walls are underneath the schach, it doesn't matter how high the schach is, so it's not above 20 amos. You can have 10 tefach high walls and 20 amma high schach. Doesn't make a difference, okay? So that's not true by Mavli. By Mavli, the Korah has to be immediately atop the Mavli. If it's not immediately atop the Mavli, it doesn't help, right? From within 3 tefachim of the top of the walls. So therefore, here, we see a difference between a Mavli and a Sukkah, right? So it says here, V'tani kain hevi arba dekorim b'sukkah gabi and b'sukkah kosher v'mavli possible, right? Ha'adar da'ato amar b'gvoin shlosh kosli mavli. Of course, that's only if they're more than 3 tefachim above the walls of the mavli. But if it's not more than 3 tefachim above the walls of the mavli, it's kosher. Also, when is it not good? When it's up on stilts, when it's not 4 tefachim wide, okay? When the roof on top of the stilts, because the roof on top of the stilts is 4 tefachim wide, you can say Peter Koryard V'Soisim, okay? But if it's at least according to Rabbi Yehuda, but according if it's less, because then it's a tikra. If it's 4 tefachim wide, if it's less than 4 tefachim wide, you can't say Peter Koryard V'Soisim because it's not a tikra. It's not going to be a ceiling. But once you say Peter Koryard V'Soisim, it's even if there's a gap of more than 3 tefachim between the top of the walls of the mavli and the koiro, which is on top of it. Okay. The front now. Other differences between sukkah and mavli. Tfanos ksheres b'sukkah psulos b'mavli. Walls are kosher b'sukkah and are puzzle by mavli. What do we mean? The Tani Kain. Look at it. We learned like this. Shtayin kilchasan by a mavli, you only need 2 walls. I'm sorry, by sukkah, you only need 2 walls. 2 vashlishas, so shlishas are filu tefach, and a 3rd wall could even be a tefach, and that suffices. Rabbi Yechia b'shem Yochanan says even less. Shtayim shel arba tefachim. The first 2 walls only have to have 4 tefachim apiece. 4 tefachim is the majority of a wall. At least according to Bavli, I don't know. According to Yerushalmi, the shiur is going to be. According to Bavli, the minimum shiur of a wall of a sukkah is 7 tefachim. So he's saying 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim is enough. You don't even have to have 2 full walls. You have to have the majority of 2 walls and a tefach on the 3rd wall. That's sufficient to form a sukkah.
And then the rest you have a stilt, and then you have the
rest you have like it's a Pesach or something like that, but it's not saying to support the schach. But you don't have to have full walls. You don't even need a Tzurus Pesach, right? Stilts or
it's very low.
Right, it's not just, no, we're not talking about height now. It's about circumference, right? The circumference of the sukkah, the perimeter of his minimum perimeter of the sukkah has to be 49 tefachim, meaning 7 by 7, right? 7 by 7, the perimeter times 4, 28 tefachim. Perimeter is 7, 7, 7, 7. That's 28 tefachim, right? Question is, how much of that perimeter has to have walls on it? So we say you have to have 2 walls and 3rd can even be a tefach. And he's saying that, which we would assume to means 15 out of 28. But he's saying this opinion here says it's even 4 and 4 and 1, which is 9 tefachim. So an entire perimeter of 28 tefachim, you actually only have 9 tefachim which need to be standing. Which is, of course, a tremendous minority of the overall perimeter of the sukkah. And nonetheless, that suffices. But by Mobi, it's not like that. A Mobi has to be closed on all 4 sides, right? 3 sides have to have modified walls, and the 4th side's got to have a kairo or a lechi, right? So therefore, we see that Mobi is very different. Similarly, Racham Yatzamas of Sukkah Kosher is still going to be very wide. It can be more than 10 amos wide. With a Mobi possible, but a Mobi cannot be 10 amos wide. Right, the lechi korah only works if the opening is up to 10 tefachim wide. More than 10 tefachim wide, it's a problem. Another difference: hilas a gefen v'esadlas v'esakisu v'sicher al gabov besula. If you put down a canopy on your sukkah made of natural trees, say of grapevines or of pumpkins. Or kisum, I don't know, it's another type of natural ceiling. You put schach on top of that, it's possible because it's attached, right? It's attached to the ground, right? However, by a Eruvin, the same type of canopy you can carry underneath without any problem, right? Because it doesn't matter whether the canopy is made by man or made by a tree. That's no big deal. The only difference is since it's a mechitza which came out on its own, you can only use it to carry up to an area of base sign, right? 5,000 square miles. Now you're saying base sign, but if it's more than a base sign, not just mechitza shuk for Israel, it's like a wall which is surrounding a planted area. Shemu to the arba amos, in which you can only carry the sum total of 4 amos, right? Not more than that. But even though it can't be larger than the base of sign, up to a base of sign, this canopy made of natural wood is sufficient. So obviously that by Shabbos we have different parameters than we have by Sukkos. Also, chamosam bruba mitzilotha. If you have more sun than shade. But sukkah psula, on a sukkah that's possible because you need more shade than sun. But mavli kosher, but it doesn't matter. Obviously, mavli, the main thing is to have the enclosure, not the ceiling. Vice versa, sukkah mikura psula. If you have a sukkah which is roofed over, it's possible. Mavli mikura, if you have a mavli which is roofed over, it's obvious kosher, far superior. Rav Acha ben said, lo sof davar mikura. It's not just mikura is good. El afilu nosan maltera, even if you put a korah above 10 tefachim, we mentioned above 20 amos. We mentioned this before. V'yesh baruch of arba tefachim, and it's 4 tefachim. Why? Materis is a movi that's good enough because the pitikri yer v'soisim. So as opposed to ilu baishu so obviously we have obviously there's a difference because the korah above 20 amos works by a mavui, but a sukkah above 20 amos, no matter what you put up there, is not a valid sukkah. Now says the Gemara, what's the difference? Why by mavui and sukkah do we have so many dissimilarities? Right? What's the parameter? Why the parameters so different? If there are after all parameters that are similar, the 20 amos, like the 10 tefachim, why the major differences? Let me just check that he's not lost because I didn't tell him which.
Questioning that also. I mean, there are 2 different halachos.
Yeah.
One is.
But look what the Yerushalmi says. Now comes the clincher. So it says the Yerushalmi, you know what it is? Ilubayishu gavoah. If you have a house which is higher, it should be not mikama, but mikaf amma, which is higher than 20 amos. Shema enochai b'makeh. Does not require a makeh. Of course, it requires a makeh, right? It has to have a parapet around it, right? A fence around it, right? Enochai mezuzah. It's not chai mezuzah. Obviously, it requires a mezuzah. So why by sukkah is it not a valid house? Right? By sukkah it's about 20 amos. The sukkah is a house, right? Why it's not a house like any other house? No, that's what Bavli says. The Yerushalmi says, not that it's a temporary house, because that's like sukkah dira saroi, like you're saying. Ela bais mekura ve'ain sukkah mekura. A house has a ceiling. Schach says Yerushalmi is not a ceiling. That's its parameter. Schach is not a ceiling. And since schach is not a ceiling, it has different parameters than a house. A house has a ceiling. A schach is schach. A sukkah is schach. Sukkah is schach is porous. It's chamsamur. It's suasamur chamasa. Right. I know if it's another way of saying aroy. Let's see how it goes on. Matzino sikol shu kakili, says the Gemara. Wait a minute. We found sikul which is like kirui. The Tziantam we learned here chikas hasikul minatfono shosh tvachim psula. We learned if you make a distance between the wall and the schach on the top of the sukkah, more than 3 tvachim, it's possible. So it sounds like if it's less than 3 tvachim, it's kosher. It must be because of lavud, right? You don't say lavud by walls and by ceilings. So obviously the schach has a parameter of being a house, right? Because it has, you could say lavud if it's less than 3 tvachim away from the wall. Ella Bayis megupa ain't sukkah megufefes. Maybe you're going to say no, but the difference between a house and a sukkah is that a house is closed off. In other words, it's got four walls, whereas the sukkah's not. Sukkah, we said, has very bare minimum walls. Maybe that's the difference. No, can't be either. Because there's a concept of an achsaja, which is like an open gazebo, which can be open completely with shusarabi at the inside, which is shusayach. Rabbi Ila b'shem Rav, Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, Tarvei Omrim Metaltlim B'Kuli, can carry it throughout the gazebo. So you see, even gazebos, which are open like sukkahs, nonetheless have a status of shusayachid. They're considered to be like houses. So what is the difference? If that's the case, if it's not because bias the difference between schach and the ceiling, so what is the difference? So it must be Rabbi Avo Shembiot said Hatoyram Abasukos Teishvu. Sir says sit in sukkahs. Ad etzim ama at yeshe b'tzil shel sukkah. Up to 20 amos you're sitting in the shade of a sukkah, because the primary shade can still be regarded to be that of a sukkah. The schach, from 20 amos and up, you're actually sitting in the shade of the walls. Rabbi said, so here's very interesting Yerushalmi to the Bavli. That's only if the walls are all the way up to 20 amos. This is not Bavli at all. In other words, if the schach is 20 amos high and the walls go up to the 20 amos, so they're sitting in the shadow of the walls. But what if the walls are 10 tefachim high and the schach is 20 amos high? So that should be okay. Why? Because the walls give you no shade. Whatever shade you get, you're getting from the schach. The Bavli doesn't hold the way. The Bavli holds it doesn't matter, regardless of how high the schach is placed and how low the walls are, you're still not sitting in proper shade of the schach. But the Yerushalmi looks much more at the actual parameters of the case. And if the walls of the sukkah are very short, you're not sitting in their shade. Whatever shade you're getting is coming from on top.
Is there something also that you're supposed to see the schach, and if it's 20 amos high, you're not going to see the schach? That's
in the Bavli, and the Yerushalmi is going to bring down something like that, but we haven't brought it down yet. Says Gemara, again, I'm Rabbi Yochanan that Amar. That's true. Right? That's where there's more than 20 amos, where the walls reach up more than 20 amos, to more 20 amos. But if the walls are very short and the schach does reach 20 amos, then that's okay because you're not sitting in the shadow of the tvanos, right? If that's the case, you're saying it's all contingent on the walls. Let me ask you like this. Let's say that the walls, when the walls are more than 20 amos, even though the schach is below 20 amos, it should be possible. In other words, if you have, let's say, schach, which if your walls are 20 amos, but the schach is down here, so that should be no good, because even though the schach is below 20 amos, since the walls on all sides stretch on top, it should be no good. Now, the Bavli asks the same question. The Bavli says, no, that's okay, because you look at the walls on top as if they're not there. The walls above the schach are considered to be as if they're cut off, right? They're superfluous, right? So says the Gemara, the Yerushalmi, however, does not say that. Yerushalmi doesn't give such an answer. So Yerushalmi, it sounds like if the walls stretch above 20 amos, even though the schach is below 20 amos, it's possible because you have either because you have the shade of the tfanos, or is that the only reason so far? Yeah, because you have the shade of the tfanos. Okay, so it says the Gemara, Rabbi B'Shem Rav said, this is all true. It's only if you have, if the sukkah only holds the minimum amount, which is 7 by 7 tefachim, which is the amount it takes to hold his head, the majority of his torso, and his table. The sukkah is broader already than its kosher. Why? Because then even if the walls reach up to 20 amos, you're certainly getting some of the schach of the sukkah protecting you. It's not just the shade, or not too predominantly the shade of the walls. Okay? Rabbi Yaakov Bar B'Shem said, "B'she'ein dav noseh olo simor." The only time the sukkah is possible if it's more than 20 amos high is if the walls don't go all the way up to the schach. If the walls go all the way up to the schach, then it's kosher. And this seems to be, although the Or Sameach wants to say differently, but the Pashut Pshat is this is harking to the reason given the Bavli, which you said before, that a person has to realize he's sitting in the sukkah. So if the walls go all the way up to the sukkah, the schach, so then his eyes follow the wall until he actually hits the schach on top, and it's okay. But if his eyes don't follow the wall, if there is no wall, then it's obviously not okay. Okay? Says the Gemara, it seems like this Mishnah argues, because what does it say? Rabbi said, Ma'isa b'sukkah shalenia malka b'lud. This is Ma'isa with the sukkah of Eleni, the queen in Lud. Shreisa gloy yesim b'chaf amo, which is more than 20 amos high. But you chachamim nichnasi v'yetzim bo, chachamim came in and out of it. V'lo amar adam davar. Nobody said to her, ain't boo about it. So they said, no, it's not. Now we see it was more than 20 amos high. They still didn't say anything to her. So we said from this it's a right that it's above 20 amos is kosher. So there's more, no. Amallah said to Mneshu he isha. It's different because she's
not chayevet.
Right, Beini Shochem mitzvahs. But Amallah, Rabbi didn't answer that. Amallah Mishom Rai, it said from there it's a proof. Hello, Shiva Bani Tamid Chachami Hoilah. That's interesting. The Bavli says that her 7 kids were Ktanim Shegiu Lechinuch.
So they weren't chayev either yet.
No, Bavli won't say, but Midrabanan they're chayev. But the Yerushalmi says Tamid Chachamim. So the Shailas with the Yerushalmi is arguing on the Bavli and saying they actually were adults. The Yerushalmi is saying that their kids were Tamid Chachamim. In other words, they were like students, and therefore, even though they were Ktanim, they're still chayev in chinuch. I'm not sure. See, I don't know I haven't been paying attention, but I'm not sure if the language of Talmid Chacham is prevalent in the Yerushalmi. That would really, figure it out for us. Because if Talmid Chacham uses the same prevalence in the Bavli, so it probably means an adult. But in the Yerushalmi, it could be Talmid Chacham means, what it literally means, which is the students, right? Which means the same thing as the Bavli, the Chai Mishum Chinuch. Okay, so it says, Isa l'mein b'skotzer shel Heleni b'shenim al-zegas el rosha v'shuchona. Now, says the Gemara, is it possible to say that Heleni's sukkah was so small? So it must be must be that they were arguing because Rabbi Yehuda said that the walls didn't go up, and nevertheless they didn't say to her something, and that's why he's bringing a riot from there. And Rabbana must have held there was still a case where the walls went up, and their machlokas is whether the walls going up overcomes the problem or does not overcome the problem of sitting in a sukkah which is more than 20 amos high. It's interesting, the Bavli does bring down that it is a problem of Rosh Veruba because they all sat in little chambers. They had their own little chambers. So maybe there was actually a problem of Rosh Veruba. But alright, it's not for now. Says the Gemara, Mistabra mad amar Rabbi Yeshua leisi pliga. Says the Gemara, it makes sense to say that that which Rabbi Yeshua said that Rabbi Yosha said that not the height of the walls. I'm just checking and that doesn't argue the brisa. That works with the brisa. The chenu chayim datiraya. That's the fashion of rich people. Mavi dafnosa klilon. They make shorter walls. Literally, klila means lighter. Here means shorter. The yoy kriya, that if there's yoy kriya, that if a cold wind comes, air conditioning, oil will come in. So that's the machlokas over there, whether when the walls in which is schach was false or not. Rabbi Yoshia both. Now, Rabbi Yoshia question also, which does not appear at all in the Bible, a very cool question. Rabbi Yoshia asked, Hevi Nesser and the son of Gabi Chuya. Let's say you had a pit, and you put on top of the pit a beam. Gabi Chuya, Hevi Nesser and also Gabi Chuya, show Amud.
If you're in a Rosh Hashanah that has 4 by 4 pieces that go up. You don't have a Rosh Hashanah not lo have now the Devar Sukkah. Can only be a Rosh Hashanah above 10
on a pillar of rock in the middle. So can I write on that? Because you have what is this like this? It's really fascinating case. You have a pit in your sukkah, and then you have in the middle of the pit you have a outcropping, right? And then on the outcropping you put a beam and you put your chair and your table. Now, the walls of the sukkah go like this. They go into the hole. Right, and then they go all the way up high. So the walls of the sukkah, let's say, from top to bottom into the depression of the hole are more than 20 amos, right? But from where you're sitting, it's actually less than 20 amos, right? So what do we go after? We go after where you're sitting, or we go after the total height of the wall? Don't guess unless you really want to. Not make you take a guess.
Also the total height of the wall.
Okay, we'll see if you're right. Says Gemara, Pshitim Yomi Nesser. If you measure from the beam, which you put on top of the outcropping, it should be Ein Kanesir Mama. There isn't 20 Amma. If Yomi Nakaka, you measure from the ground, Yesh Kanesir Mama. There is 20 Ammas, right? Mat Ovidle. What do you look at? Look at it Ka'avir Pasul or Kischach Pasul. Do you look at it like the airspace is what passes, or the schach passes, right? If you're going to say the airspace is what passes, then paisel b'shlosha tvachim, right? Then it passes in 3 tvachim, meaning it's a very cool, very lumdisher Gemara. If you say the airspace passes, that means there has to be less than 3 tvachim between the edge of the beam and the wall, in order to say lavud, because then you could say it's as if the entire area beneath the beam doesn't exist, because the beam is halachically connected to the wall. Okay, but if you're not going to say that, if you're going to say that, if it's more than 3 tvachim, so the only way you can say it's kosher is if you say that when it's more than 20 amos, that not that the airspace is possible, but the schach is possible. Because the special halacha by schach, that by schach we say dofen akuma. We say that up to 4 amos you can like cantilever the schach, so to speak. In other words, if the schach kosher is within 4 amos of the wall, this would be less than 4 amos, would be okay. Okay? So even let's say it's the schach which is possible, so then I can just eliminate the problem by saying, well, this is less than 4 amos from the wall to the schach kosher over the beam, and therefore I say that this is one large wall, and I say that this is kosher, right? Okay, so I say it in the kosher middle over the beam. That works. But if you're going to say it's not the schach which you're looking at as being possible, but rather the airspace which is possible, so in order to get over the deficit of the airspace, I can't say dofen akuma. I have to be able rather to extend the beam to hit the sides, so that I can only see if there's less than 3 tvachim between the beam and the sides. Am I making myself clear? Yeah. There's actually a shita in the Bavli, one of the Rishonim, I forget who it is, who says that dofen akuma works on the ground. In other words, in a classic case of dofen akuma where we have a regular sukkah, and you have to say, let's say it's more than 20 amos high, right? So what we do is, and here there's a platform. So what we do is we say Dofen Akuma like this. We make like a nun, right? Like a complete nun, as opposed to a vav, right? We make a complete nun. But this Rishon would say, I think it's the Tosfos read, he would say the Yerushalmi, you can't do that, right? Because where would your nun be? Down here at the bottom of the pit, right? So it wouldn't connect, which is no good because it wouldn't connect it all to this beam, right? So therefore he would interpret the Gemara as saying either the airspace, if you need to say Doven Akuma, in this case it's not going to work, right? Right? If you're going to say Doven Akuma like this, it's not going to work. It has to be Doven Akuma like this on top. So I don't know how we learn the Yerushalmi.
Could you also split the sukkah and say that the center part, that the one that's on this platform,
but it needs walls. It has to be affiliated with the walls. How do you affiliate with the walls? Again,
unless it's love,
either you say lavud, right, if it's airbase, it's within 3 tvachim, and if it's more than 3 tvachim, it's possible. Or if you say it's not the airspace that look up, but rather the schach's correlation to the ground, so then I get up to 4 amos on top of the schach, right? Okay. Okay, it's a cool case. Yeah, I'm surprised Bobby doesn't bring this down. So it says again, either because Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Boom B'Shem B'Chizku said, "V'nei ma'am l'schach pasul." Any place I'll live down Amos. Why they say schach pasul only apostles in 4 amos? Shelo bo el ter the sukkah. In order to be matir the sukkah, right? In other words, in order to get a sukkah which is possible, above 20 amos kosher. So here too, say dofen akuma, right? In order to make it kosher. Ramesh said, "Utzmei I'm astounded. Hey, Rabbi Yossi tzrichole. Why did Rabbi Yossi ask? Why did Rabbi Yossi ask the kosher? It's kosher that it's mutter. V'loma lo yolich minado. Why did you learn out from here, where it says?" To Rabbi Bar Memo, in case Rabbi Bar Memo, the thing that we learned over there, Hamashashot Foros Milamaton, Milamaton. It's an interesting case, also, similar case, and also not part of it's Alvin barley because it's a Mishnah, but the expounding of the case is not. Shashot Foros Milamaton, let's say instead, if here's your schach, excuse me, instead of building walls from the bottom up, you build your walls from the top down. So how close to the ground does the wall have to come? Within 3, right? So I'm shashvasim ilmatin gavoy mirot shloshet vachim psula, right? Rabbi Bar Mer said that's only any yeshiv v'oichel b'tzilin shaltzonos. Let's say you made yourself a shelf over here, right? Oh, this, by the way, it's nothing to do with it when it's more than 3 tzah. It's nothing to do with more than 20 amos. It's tamasoi, right? So let's say you made yourself a shelf over here. So now he says these 3 hours. The fact that it's more than 3 tzah on the ground doesn't bother me because his sukkah starts from the shelf suspended in the middle of his sukkah.
Yeah, but how wide does that shelf go across?
Let's say it's wide enough. So he says it's kosher, right? Says Gemara, "Amrei bar melk she'eni yoshev v'oichel b'tzilin shel tfanos." Yoshev v'oichel b'tzilin shel tfanos kshera, right? Says the Gemara, "Amrei Rabbi Yossi leis hador the Rabbi Bar Memo ufa mimas nisin." That which Rabbi Bar Memo said cannot be learned out from the Mishnah. Rabbi Bar, I'm sorry, it's a quiet. No. It's a no again. Rabbi Yossi laces Rabbi Bar Memo. Ufan Basisa. Can't we learn that which Rabbi Yossi Rabbi said from a Mishnah? What's in the Mishnah? This is Rabbi Yossi Rabbi. No. Leis hadod Rabbi Bar Memo Ufan. It's not his own. It's a thing he learned on himself. Ulpan means something he learned on himself. Ulpan is from ulpan. Ulpan means to teach, right? Or to learn. So it's not he learned on himself. You must teach a little for Rabbi Bar Memo. Rabbi Bar Memo learned this he started from a Mishnah. What's the Mishnah? The Tziyatam we learned over there. It's a Mishnah Erevin. Ketzutz sushi l'malam min hayam. I'm sure you remember this case, the case where you have water, right? And you need to draw from the water on Shabbos, right? So in order to draw from the water, you need to make yourself a box-like contraption over the water, right? Which allows you to stick your bucket through the box and put the bucket down into the water, right? So he says over there, if you have a window over the sea, you can't, or a ledge over the sea, you can't draw water up from the sea on Shabbos. And you can also unless you made a wall 10 tefachim high. Now this wall can be up here or down there, closer down or closer up. So you need the wall. Rabbi Zir and Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yehuda b'shem Rab said, it doesn't matter where it starts, but it's got to reach into the water, and it's got to reach a bucket thickness into the water. So we see here that a mechitza tluya works, right? We see that a dangling wall works, right? To be matu the water, right? As long as the water goes into the bucket, right? So here too, in other words, not into the, as long as the walls go into the water, because it says has to actually go into the water. So here too, he wants to say same thing is true about the shelf and the sukkah, right? Just like here, as long as the water surface is within the confines of this box, it's okay, right? You can put the bucket further down and pull the bucket further up. So too, as long as there's a shelf within the confines of the walls, no matter how far, no matter there's much airspace beneath the walls, it doesn't matter. Just like it don't matter how much water space I have beneath the wall over here, so it doesn't matter how much airspace I have over here. It's completely comparable, he says. Of course it's not. It says Marvelo Dami, it's not comparable. Yam Carmelisu. The sea is a Carmelis. Ain't a Lushus Sea of Lushus Rhyme. So basically Rabbanan can do what they want with it, right? They can fool around and say anything, right? However, Bramocha Teiroma Basukas Teishvu. The Torah said Basukas Teishvu is the Torah, so you can't play games with this. So Mikar Sukkah, Moedes your mama from the walls, from the ground of the sukkah, you have to measure 20 amas. So therefore, also over here, the platform in the middle, like you said before, no good, right? Because the platform is not considered to be the wall, the floor of the sukkah. The bottom of the pit is the bottom of the sukkah. So you guys right. Says more. Interesting case. We'll stop, by the way, at 5:2. So chapam marmin. If the sukkah was below 10 foot, well, there's a very low sukkah, so it's 10 tefachim, right? It's 10 tefachim high, and besides that, you put decorations in the sukkah, which are suitable to become part of the schach. So they bring down the height sukkah to even less than 10 tefachim and leave so. It makes it possible. Im lav, if the decorations are not part of the schach, let's say they're tinfoil, so they can't be construed as being part of the schach, right? So it's kosher. Because but kosher. Even though, it diminishes the size of the sukkah, it still remains kosher. Why? Because it's got to be that the sukkah itself is less than 10 tefachim high in order to be bustle. But here it's like inside the sukkah which diminishes its height. This is also saying the Bavli didn't express this clearly as the Yerushalmi does. Vice versa, I said the Malam Esir Mama, it was more higher than 3 amos, and you hang it at decorations which are suitable to be schach, and my team kosher, that it brings it down to less than 3 amos, which is good. If not, so they bring it down to less than 20 amos, they don't bring it down to less than 3 amos. If they're not part of our schach, it remains possible. Just like they said on top, so too they said below. And what he means to say is an interesting thing. He said the way the Korgil Shas means, you can diminish the schach if it's higher than 20 amos by hanging new schach below, which brings it down. But you can also do it by raising the platform of the sukkah, the bottom. by putting in sand and dirt, as we're going to see in a minute. So it's partial. Why should it not be partial? That's mutter. So he says the reason why it's a chiddush because you very often I say tasev lo min asui. Right, you have to make a sukkah kosher to begin with, and not that it automatically becomes kosher, right? Because here the schach was possible. He didn't do a mitzvah to the schach to make it kosher. He did a mitzvah on the other side to raise the platform. So I might say it's not good. That's why I have to tell me no. As long as I put up the schach in a way which is way which I intend to make kosher, even though later on was actually when it became kosher, that's okay. All right, the schach has to be put on for the purpose of making a shelter, and here was a shelter.
I would have thought as long as you correct it. I mean, even if it's done out.
Yeah, but we're going to see later in the Masechta. Usually, when you correct the psul, you have to do something to the thing which you're correcting itself, not do it indirectly. So that is the chiddush. Okay, says more kash v'teven ein mematin bo. For a troros mematin. Kash and teven, straw and hay, they don't diminish the sukkah because you'll take them out. But dirt and often throws dirt and stones do diminish the sukkah. Rabbi Yosef Buna aluba sovim ematibo. If it's grass, it doesn't diminish the sukkah because you're just going to take it away. You know, the truth is this is another sukkah. So even though I prepared it, but since we have to go for Marab, so we'll stop here for today.